Well, hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another Rise and Thrive Financial Friday. Yes, this is Financial Friday. Coming on a little late. They was working me a little hard at the church, but we are on now, and we're glad to be on today. I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and my co-host is not able to be with us tonight. He's on a military assignment, and that's Brother Minister James Jones. But we got two heavy hitters with us tonight. Yeah, some heavy hitters. And normally when we're doing our Financial Fridays, you'll see them in the comments, commenting on certain things. And so I'll be referencing back and forth and talking about we're going to get them on the show. And so we got them on the show tonight. And so we got Brother Lewis Chatfield. All right, look like he's got some technical difficulties going on. So he'll pop back in a minute. And we got Elder Perry with us tonight. And,
Yes,
and so
yes.
we're excited about our guest tonight. So, Elder, how you doing tonight?
I am focused but not finished. How about yourself there,
All right,
Pastor?
focused but not finished. I like that. Do you got that? Do you got that pattern? I might, I got a list in front of me where I'm creating all these T-shirts. And so, do you have
Okay.
that one pattern? Or can I put that on my list?
It's open for the grabs.
Oh, so it's open for the grabs. All right. Okay, so I might mention your name once, but after that, I'm gonna say like I said. And then
Yes,
that's
sir.
Brother Lewis Chatfield with us tonight. How you doing, Brother Lou? There's a little delay there. Lou, are you on with us tonight? Let me write this down before I forget.
Yeah, I'm
Focus.
on with you.
There
It's
he
kind of like,
is.
like you said, it's like a little delay in the video.
Okay. Elder, you said it was focused but not finished.
Focused but not finished.
Okay. All right. All right. I got that. Got that
Yeah,
down. Well, listen, welcome
yeah.
guys to another Financial Friday where we are rising out of our financial slump and thriving in our financial freedom. It's all about financial
Yeah.
freedom. So we've been talking about financial freedom, and part of our goal here on Financial Fridays is to help people create pathways to financial freedom. A lot of times people don't understand how financial freedom can reduce the stress in their lives and how it can open up a whole nother world for them if they're just focused on cutting, not necessarily cutting out, but controlling what they have now so they can be able to do what they need to do later. And a lot of times what happens is we have people who take what they have as soon as they get it. They get their income tax check and it's spent before, the week is out, or they get, their regular work check and it's gone. And just trying to show people how to begin baby steps, small steps, make adjustments to be able to set money aside and put money on assignment. And so I know I said a whole mouthful on there, but that's kind of what Financial Fridays is all about, helping people to create financial freedom. I got some grinders in the house. I got the grinders in the
Yeah.
house from James. That's his department right there. So I'm gonna have to do double duty tonight. He normally would say, just in case you watching, Brother James. Oh yeah, there he is. I see him. He say, "Hey family." So I'm gonna have to go ahead
Yeah.
and do his line there. I'm gonna have to do his line, and say to all the grinders out there, Brother James say to all my grinders, it'd be his grinders, but to all the grinders. I see Lady B in the house. God evening grinders. Yes. Deacon Boone is in the house. Good evening. Tiffany Thomas, what's going on, my sister? Good evening. Good evening. James, yeah, good evening to all of the grinders. So tonight we want to just kind of talk about a couple different things, just again try to help people to to find that pathway to financial freedom. So tonight we got a couple different topics, and we'll see how far we go in the time that we have. But the first topic we want to talk about is what I kind of introed in, and that is, budgeting basics. A lot of times people think that to be on a budget is a setback. I got a quote here from Dave Ramsey. He said, "A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went."
I like that.
So I know both of you guys are very successful in your own rights and in your different entrepreneur skills and the different things that you are involved in. When it comes to being able to live and thrive at the level that you thrive at, when it comes to your whether it's your real estate, your financial portfolio in general, what would you say that how does budgeting play a part in being able to get to that level?
Yeah.
Either one of you all can jump in on that one. Or should I
Yep.
you all to get where you are, do you all use budgeting or do y'all just, free flow?
I'll say first of all, you need to just figure out after taxes of your income. A lot of people start with the gross, but it's really the net. So you want to number one is figure out your after tax income, and then you will create what you call a budget system. You want to then you put your budget together with all the little bills or whatever you got to pay. You put that together, and that way, as you mentioned about Dave Ramsey, you get a chance to track your process. I like how you said Dave Ramsey had put it about how he had said that with the money, and as you track that, then you can start automatic saving. You can automatic start saving and practicing putting budget management in order. I
Okay.
would say that.
All right. So Lewis, how important is budgeting in order to be able to have financial freedom or have a, a financial portfolio worth having, if that makes sense to you? How important is budgeting? Okay, I think you're muted there. Unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How important is budgeting when it comes to having financial freedom or being able to have a great financial portfolio?
Well, budgeting is very, very important. It's kind of the starting point because it's all about what you bring in and what you come out, which is basically your income and then your expenses. And so basically, you should either write it on paper or now they got a lot of apps or Excel spreadsheet that can help you track your budget. Now, one big thing for me that when we were growing up, we didn't have to worry about is all this extra kids activities like AAU basketball, club hockey, and stuff like that. And this stuff's quite expensive because of not only just the fees for being in the club, but it's also when you go travel these tournaments, you got to get room and board, you got to feed everybody, you got gas and things like that. So knowing what your budget is as far as what you got in and what you're spending out is important. Like Elder Perry said, it's not necessarily about your gross, it's about the net. And the net is after all of your expenses, your mortgage, your rent, your food, your electric, your gas, your water, your kids' activities, buying clothes, going out to eat, buying supplies for schools, things like that. So that's very important because from there, if you don't have a budget, then you're just spending money that you may not have. And then at the end of the month, you might be in a negative or the red, which you don't want. And also, too, it's more of a visual indicator of what you have or what you need to get to. You say, well, I'm going to be short on this. So how can I or can we work together to make sure we don't have that kind of problem at the end of the month? Because I know Pastor Burns, I know you talked to us about many times about the most important thing in any relationship in a family is finances and security. And security is kind of a piece of finances.
And so when you think about that, just listening to different things that you just talked about, is the average family now that has children, have those different expenses, those different, like you say, the tournaments and the traveling up and down the road and everything that comes along with raising children nowadays with the different extracurriculum activities. And when you start thinking about your rent and all of those different things, that sounds like a lot of stuff to track. And so oftentimes when people like they go and they look at a car, they go and they look at a house, or they go and they look for something new to buy, thinking about all of those things, it almost seemed like that's too much work. What is your thoughts on that, Elder?
Yeah, it's basically we definitely gotta you gotta figure out where does all my money go. So if you're gonna basically go out try to purchase a car or things and such like that, you have to have it. You gotta have a floor mat. You gotta have everything kind of like budget. Like we're saying, it's got to be budget. You got to keep your finances under control. You got to show where you need to make adjustments to your spending and to help you decide where your money is going instead of wondering where it went. So when you're planning on purchasing a vehicle, you find out what that number is, and then when you get that number, if they give you 2 to 3 years or 3 to 5 years to pay it off, you take that number and then you divide it, I believe, by whatever years that it is, and I think you time it, and you can pay that off like you want to budget it, and you want to pay it off like instead of 5 years, you want to pay it off half of that time. You start putting more towards the principal
Okay.
Yes.
of whatever you're going to purchase. Hmm.
All right. That reminds me of a scripture in Proverbs 21:5. It says, "The plans of the diligent lead to surely to abundance." Let me read it again. "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Does that make sense?
Mm.
What
It does make
Yes.
perfect sense.
it's almost like an illustration of, you know, having a garden, and then with the garden, I know like around my house I have flowers and different things and different flower beds. But I've been busy traveling a lot over the last couple of years, and I really like getting out there in the garden. It's just, I just like being out there. I guess it reminds me of when my grandmother used to have us out in the garden. Well, back then I didn't like it, but but now just being out
Yeah.
there. But I noticed over the last couple of years, because I have not been out there as much, that the weeds begin to overtake the beauty of the flowers that's out there. And then when I thought about that, and I thought about what we're talking about with budgeting, I thought about when you don't have a proper budget, unnecessary expenses becomes like weeds, and it can overrun your finances to the degree that it chokes everything out. And
Yes.
so it's
Mm.
so important that people understand. It was a mantra. The mantra went like this: every dollar has a purpose. Every dollar has a purpose. Every dollar has a purpose. And being able to get that mindset that money is just not to be frivolously used or just tossed around, whether it's a dollar or whether it's $100. Every dollar has a purpose. And Brother James talks about giving it assignment, giving your money assignment,
Yeah.
so that when we have the
Yes.
money, budgeting helps us to see how our money is assigned out. And then, like Elder, you talking about, when we buy products, we are able to get them and not just get them and go to 5 or 6 years, but get them and then be able to pay them off the half time. And it seemed like when you do that, you not only are you saving the interest, because you're not paying the full term. It actually seems like it makes whatever the car, because when you buy a car, they add that interest in, and then in the end, when you sign the paper, the sticker said $200, but when you sign that paper, it say $5,000 because they got all this stuff in there. But it actually makes it seem like you're paying less for the car, which you are, because you're not paying
Mm.
as much interest. Let me see what we got
Yes.
going on in the chat. We got a live chat out there tonight. What's going on, Minister Rodney? How you doing? On Welcome to Financial Friday. Lady B said that was a great quote, talking about budgeting is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Brother
Yeah.
James said, yeah, he agreed. He understand your income is the key. He says, understanding your income is the key. And he said he's taking notes about money is like a small garden. All right, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought, James, I had to step it up since you left me, since you went out here with me today. I thought I had to step it up since I had the big boys on the show, you know. So budgeting, in essence, we're saying to those of you who are out there, it seemed like a tedious task that you know, keeping up with all them different things and looking at how much is coming in, how much is going out. But in order to have financial freedom, you got to start by recognizing what you have coming in and what's going out, and having a plan, as what Elder was saying, having a plan to be able to not only pay down the principal of the things that you're paying for, but having a plan also to put money aside, which we'll be talking about that as well. Let's go to another topic tonight. We know budgeting is basic budgeting is a necessity when it comes to financial freedom. Are we in agreement with that? And
Indeed, we
some
are.
form of another.
Yes.
So Lewis talked about the different types of uh, apps, and it's all different types of programs that you can use. James Jones, he gave us a program, a real simple program to use, a spreadsheet where you just put in the numbers and it calculates it for you. However you want to do it is fine, but you got to do it. The next thing is, when it comes to, Elder Perry brought it up when he talked about the car and paying it off. When it comes to borrowing money and managing your debt, because if you're not careful, when you go and you buy a car, we talked about buying a car, the payment is not the only thing that you have to be concerned about. You know, you have to be concerned about the upkeep. It's going to need some tires. It's going to need some brakes. You know, the license is going to be due. You know, and nowadays, you know, the license is what, $100 to get license plate renewals. And so
Over, yeah.
Yeah.
there's some maintenance that's going to come along with that. When you buy a house, it's not just about the payment that you're making, because with a house, you're going to have some challenges. There's going to be plumbing issues or electrical issues, or, you know, some things that's going to have to be fixed. So when we talk about borrowing money and we talk about managing our debt, what is your thoughts when it comes to how much we should do when it comes to a house soon? A lot of times when people buy a house, they'll go buy a new car and buy a house, and then later on find themselves in trouble because of those maintenance things that come up. When it comes to borrowing money and when it comes to debt management, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'm gonna say pretty much on the borrowing the money, you have to know where you at with your borrowing. You just can't. Your income got to be more than your outgo.
And so now
So you
you're
got to
going back
remember
to your
that.
budget again. So you're saying that you have to be able to look at your budget, and your budget has to
Yeah,
dictate how much you can borrow or how much you should borrow. And
yeah,
okay, continue. I just wanted to make that
yeah.
connection there.
Right. It keep you from overspending. It helps you it enables you to manage the money and build credit. When you borrowing, you building credit. You know, it helps you get it helps get you moving towards your long term goals. It helps you prepare for, emergency savings and retirement. So when you borrowing money, I mean, when you're getting ready to go purchase a vehicle, you have to kind of have these five things in line. So you putting your money in buckets. If I'm not going too far off. So
Okay.
if you want to go purchase you a vehicle, I wouldn't. If you're gonna purchase you a vehicle, if you're making 200,000, you're gonna go purchase you a vehicle. Within the 30 days, if you wanted to apply for a vehicle, it'd be like they call one hit on a credit report. But you got to make sure you're able to do the both of them. You know,
Hmm.
put them, if you wanted to borrow, get the car and get the house. But I think you need to stick to that budget.
Okay. So Lewis, there's a quote from Thomas Fuller. He says this: "Debt is the worst poverty." When you hear that, what's your thoughts when we talk about borrowing money, debt management? You know, because a lot of people are um, over drowning in debt. You know,
Hmm.
when you think about America and how America is run, everything is you get it now and you pay it later. and now
Yes,
you can do
impulse
it.
buying. Yes.
If you go on Amazon, if you go on just about anything now, you can get it now and pay it later. So when we talk about borrowing or debt management, Thomas Fuller said, debt is the worst poverty. When you hear that quote, what is your thoughts?
Well, I look at it a little differently because it depends on your mindset and your financial education about debt. Because there's good debt and there's bad debt. Now you can argue that a car is bad debt because it depreciates over time instead of appreciating it over time. But it's one of those necessary tools or resources that you need to get from A to B. So knowing, like we're going back to the budget part again, like how much money do I have coming in? Can I afford our car payment? Maybe I can keep my existing car and just do the maintenance on that, and then create a budget for getting a new car in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because ultimately, I mean, we all like to have a super nice car, but the bottom line is a car's job is to get you from A to B. However you get there, you can get a truck, you can get their SUV, you can get their a compact car, whatever.
It,
That's
it,
what his
it can be
job is.
shiny, it can be rusty, it can be big, it can be small, but
Yeah.
as long as they get you to
As
A
long
to B,
as
right?
you get you to A to B and it's reliable, if you get you through the city reliably, use that. If we can get you from here to Chicago reliably, use that. So I think debt, I think the thing about debt, you got to have a right mindset on debt, because when I think of debt, me personally, I think of using debt as leverage.
Hmm.
Like when you go to the bank to get a house, now, quite honestly, a lot of us can't afford to go pay a $200,000 house in cash. So what do? We go to the bank and take a mortgage, which is debt. So we pay now, depending on if you're a first-time home buyer, you can pay down payment is 2 to 5%. So like $100,000 house, you're paying $2,000 to $5,000, which is huge. Whereas if you're going into investment properties, you're paying like 20% down. So you got to use debt as leverage. So that's my mindset about debt.
Okay, and that's good because when you said good debt and bad debt, and Bro James kind of covered that in one of our Financial Friday segments. Good debt and bad debt. So being able to look at how you're using that debt is what determines that. And so if you get the debt and you using that debt to create some wealth, whether you flipping it or whether you doing it like Rich Dad Poor Dad. In that book, he
Mm-hmm.
talks about how he go buy a duplex, and then upstairs pay the mortgage and downstairs pay the car note on his new car. And then once the car is paid off, now that become income because that property is still producing money. So then that would be good debt, or like you said with a car versus buying a Bentley, unless you can afford it, of course, versus buying a Honda. You know what I mean? Good debt, bad debt. Proverbs 22:7 says this: the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. When you hear that scripture, Elder, what is your thoughts? The rich rules over the
Uh,
poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender.
yeah, that pretty much what it's saying. It's saying that the borrower is the slave to the lender, and we don't want to be in that position. So we want to be the bank ourselves instead of borrowing from them. We want to be that bank. You know, maybe I'm going a little too far for the question, but it's like we can build stuff where we can invest long term things, or we
Mhm.
can save and invest with a plan, or we can do stocks investing and growth and inflation management, where we can be that borrower. We borrowing from ourselves instead of us borrowing from institutions.
Okay, all right, that's very good. That's very good. And we're getting ready to get into a little bit about wealth building and investments. I was thinking about debt, like a debt being a mountain, and that the higher your debt, the harder it is to climb. But as James would
Yeah,
say, if we'll start chipping away at it, you know, um, you know, small adjustments, we bring that mountain down, which makes it easier to climb. And so it's so important that we understand that we're not saying that when you have a budget, you can't do anything. We're saying make it a choice of what things you can do where it won't create stress in your life, where you still have some type of flow when it comes to cash flow, where you're able to take money and put on assignment so that you have money working for you, which we're getting ready to talk about that in a minute. I see Brother James said, he said debt is like cholesterol, you know, so I don't know which way he's going with that one.
Good and bad cholesterol.
Okay, good and bad cholesterol.
HDL, LDL, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's bad. LTD.
What is that, Elder?
Yeah, that's that cholesterol building up on your arteries.
Okay, it's built up. All right.
Yeah, you know how your arteries, it be that big, but then that cholesterol get there, you can't get nothing through there.
All right.
You know, they got to put stents in you then. They got to put stents in there.
It can't, we're going to say it mess up your cash flow. It can't, nothing can't flow. Huh?
It can't flow, yeah. It can't
that was a mantra I found said, freedom from debt is freedom for the future. Freedom from debt is freedom for the future. And so when we talk about debt and borrowing and managing our debt, what you guys are saying is if we use the debt in a way that creates wealth for us, that it opens up our future. But if you use the debt in a way that is just stuff that it begins to weigh on you, it's just stuff that you paying out every way, then it can close up your artery or it can become a mountain. Bro James said, what he said, okay, now he said, it can be good or bad. It depends on how you collect it. All right. All right. We'll go with that one. Now, Elder, you brought it up, and Lewis kind of was talking about it as well. When we talk about financial freedom, when we talk about rising from financial slump, we talk about one, you got to have a budget. You got to know what's coming in, going out, and you got to make some decisions on things, what need to be coming out now or what need to be going out later. Then we begin to talk about we got to manage our debt. We got to manage our debt, and we got to watch how we borrow and have a better. We're not saying all debt is bad, but we're saying that when we choose to create debt, we have to create it with a plan. You know, not to just create it just because I can. And then, Elder, you begin to talk about the whole idea of investments, and so that's the next thing wanted to kind of talk about is the whole idea of investing when it comes to wealth building. I was reading a book, or I started reading a book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power by Boyce Watkins, you know. And in that, he talks about in each one, he had the 10 commandments. And one of the commandments that he was talking about in number 3 commandment is, and he's, you know, he pro-black. So, you know, he said, Black wealth training must be a rite of passage. Black wealth training must be a rite of passage. In other words, in that particular chapter, he's talking about how we have a responsibility to our children to teach them how to manage money, how to build wealth. You know, when we think about our school system, nothing against our school system. My wife was a school teacher for 25 years. I've taught in the university for multiple years, and so I have nothing against educational system. But one of the things that we don't find unless a person is majoring in college is we don't find in our school system, you know, curriculums teaching our children all the way up through high school how to manage money. And I was surprised to find out that there were college professors who didn't know how to balance their checkbook, you know. And so when we talk about wealth building, Boyce Watkins is saying that we have a responsibility to make sure that we're passing forward those principles of building wealth to our children so that we're creating generational wealth, and we can do that through investments. What's your thought on that, Brother Lewis?
Yeah, I think you hit it around the head with all those statistics about, if you go to any school, whether it be public or private, they're not teaching about, financial education, things like that. They're teaching you to be an employee, to be a worker, basically.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, financial education is key to start out the earlier the better. You can go through balancing your checkbook or balancing your budget and teaching them about, you have to have skin in the game to buy things, because
Right.
nowadays, what I see, and I'm sure like you guys see the same thing too, is that, everything's provided and the kids don't have to do anything, which is creating them to be failures or to be failures because, they're going to be dependent instead of independent or enablement
Yeah.
versus empowerment.
And
So
with
teaching
that,
financial education, if you teach your kids financial education at an early age, they're going to be way above and a lot of the other kids, even if they go to the kids that go to private school or Ivy League colleges and stuff like that, because they know how money works, and more importantly, they know how to manage it.
yeah,
So that is very key. And if you want our United States of America to turn the tables instead of being trillions of dollars in debt, you make financial education mandatory from like grade 2 on.
yeah, yeah. And as you was talking, I was thinking about how important that is, because oftentimes what happens is if we didn't have it, like I didn't have it growing up, and there's no shade on my parents or grandparents,
Right.
then I wasn't able to give it to my children. Um, but now when I started thinking with my grandchildren, when they ask for things, I try to begin to talk to them about, okay, if you do this, you get a quarter, and then you do this 5 times, then you have $1.25, then you can go buy this.
That's it.
But being
That's
able to
perfect.
understand how important that is for us to break this
Mm-hmm.
cycle of poverty, we're going to have to be able to be more illiterate when it comes to building wealth, because it's our responsibility. I can't remember what scripture it was. It talks about how a good parent, or a good father leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You know, and,
Yeah.
and so when we talk about that, building wealth, how important, Elder, do you think, would you say that building wealth is when it comes to the generations under us? It's important to our generation as well, but breaking the cycle of poverty. Uh, what is your thoughts when it comes to this
Mhm.
whole idea of building wealth through financial?
Yeah, I think that's the only way to go is to, as you say, you want to leave stuff for your children, children, children.
Mhm,
A lot of us might not be familiar with a diamond trust. Those are trusts that Rockefeller them leave for their kids and their generations. So if you go look that up, that diamond trust,
mhm,
that means they got a lot of real estate. Real estate is the number one. Building wealth is in real estate, and I think as blacks, it's only we 44%. It's 44% of us that's that's in the wealth building for for investments for properties.
mhm.
And then your second one is stocks, and your third one is business. So to me, I say it's very important that we have to uh, build that up, because that you can they got stuff you can buy. You can buy land, and you can invest in lands, and they got a lot of stuff out here. I think I heard Brother James mention about ROI.
Mhm.
You can contact banks and get land. You can get tax deeds and stuff like that. There's the bill. It's very important to build wealth, so it can go on to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation. So
And
that'll
that,
be homework. Is look up Diamond Trust.
all right.
That's the
Now
trust we want to get.
I just ordered a book on, I think it's upstairs. It's called the Habits of the Rockefeller, I think is the name of it. And
Okay, look.
it just came in the mail. Yep, I believe it's upstairs. The Habits of the Rockefeller, and so I'm gonna have to go glance
Yeah,
there and see that. Diamond, what you're talking about there.
Yeah,
I think going back to the budgeting and when we talk about this whole idea of, you know, not having it now, but, you know, planning to have it later. We talk about freedom from debt and is the freedom for the future. Um, a mantra is invest today, reap tomorrow. Invest
Mhm.
today, reap tomorrow. And when we talk about budgeting and we talk about investment, one of the things that I see amongst people is the impatient, that whole want it now thing. And when I think about investment, I think about when we moved in this house, we planted some trees, you know, and when we first planted them
hmm
trees, they was only like, maybe 2 foot high. And man, I tell you, that tree
yeah,
looked like it ain't gonna never be nothing. And but we've been here now 23, 24 years, and now those trees is all as tall as this house. But
yeah,
in the beginning, I had to water it. I had to care for it. I had to prune it when there was dead branches on it. And now that tree is able to give me shade. And in that same sense,
yeah,
when we talk about budgeting and when we talk about investing, it's not a get it now type of thing. It's a thing that, you have to be willing to be in it for the long hauls. What's your thoughts on that, Lewis?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. It's definitely it's a marathon, not a sprint. If we're investing, we're
right.
gonna invest in forex or stock market today and be a mega millionaire tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow, it's like slow and steady wins the race, and
Yeah.
a little bit over time, compound interest. And
Yeah,
that's what how it works. Now it is possible. Now you can do a mega deal and be millionaire overnight, and it is possible that you can do like forex and be get a good cash from that, so to speak. But ultimately, that's you can get rich quick. There, it's possible to do that, but ultimately, you still want to have the mindset of get rich slow or get wealthy slow, because that's going to be over the long period of time, and that's also going to build a habit or behavior in yourself
Hmm.
that I can't just go here and get it right away. Then I'm good. It's going to take some time. So it's about habit building behavior, and then people that are around you, they're going to follow that as well. So you
Yeah.
want to fit not just for yourself, but it's for the people around you, so they can follow that lead as well.
Okay. Now that behavior part is so important. I got a quote here from Warren Buffett. He said, "The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient."
That's good. I like that one.
Now,
I
years
like that.
ago, you talked about Warren Buffett and the penny stock. I think that was you told me about. Is that correct, Lewis? Penny stock, was that Warren Buffett? No,
Oh, I don't know if that was Warren Buffett.
you
It
know,
might have been.
but
I may have talked about that in the past, but I don't know if that's Warren
don't
Buffett
know if
per
that's
se.
him or not. But you talked about penny stocks, right? Are you familiar with penny stocks?
Yeah, I'm familiar with penny stocks. Yes.
Okay, and so we talk about penny stocks. What is penny stocks?
Penny stocks is literally just what they are. It's like a stock that's worth a penny, or it could be a lot less than a penny. Now, the thing with penny stocks, well, at least what I found, because I haven't invested in those in a number of years, is that they're pretty volatile.
Hmm.
However, I mean, if you invest like $10, and each stock is worth like 0.001 cents, it might hit. And then you never know.
Okay. All right. In saying that, I got a scripture here, Ecclesiastes 11:2. It says, "Divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what the risks that lie ahead." And so, like you were just saying, there is really about I think the proper word is diversify.
Yes, sir. That's
All
correct.
right.
Yes.
That's it.
Now, when we
That's
talk
it.
about the first diversifying, Elder, what is your thoughts on not having everything in as old the old saints used to say, not having all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, and exactly. You definitely want to be diversified. You don't want to have everything in the same, the same basket. So you, like I say, you can have stocks, you can have a real estate, you can have a business. And so if one go down, then the other one keep going up. So I'm with that diversified. You have to be diversified and making money. Yep. When one thing ain't working, something else is making money.
So one of the challenges that I have is some years back I had invested some money, and it ended up being $25,000. And the guy who was managing, I won't call their name, but the guy who was managing the financial company was managing that. When it seemed like it was starting to go down, I was going to pull it out, and they told me to leave it in, and it would come back up. And I left it in, and it never came back up. And that's made me gun shy, when it comes to investing now. My wife is doing some investing now, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to me, I'm a little gun shy because of that experience. What would you say to someone who's had an experience that caused them now to be shy when it comes to uh, making investments?
Well, I would say you just got to hold to a bad manager. One of the person that manage your money.
Hmm.
Sometimes you notice you have to be careful because some of them don't have any money, but they'll take your money and invest it. So you have to be careful where you get your advice from.
So you're saying that they
Um,
have
you know,
money managers that don't even have no money themselves, that managing somebody else's money?
yeah. So
So
that's
you
why
need to be asking him
that's
what
why
his portfolio is.
yeah. That's why it's important that you be around reprobated companies,
Okay.
because that almost happened to me. This guy. I know everybody done seen this. You get a card in mail. They're gonna buy you a dinner, and you go to this restaurant, and then they sit down and talk to you and all that there,
Hmm.
and then they just showing you how they used to be worked with Chase, but now they gone on their own,
Hmm.
and there's a reason for that. So then you invest. If I had invested that money with them, I would have lost it.
Okay.
So you got to be careful where who you invest with. It's the same way when you are building a team. You can like James. He can be in real estate, and he know that you have to have a team. You have to have your agent. You got to have a lender. You got to have a credit specialist. You got to have a home inspector. You got to have a contractor. But by him being in real estate, he can still get burnt. He can have somebody come by and do a inspect the home for him. He gets there, and he could be an 80-year-old guy.
Okay.
All he do turn the water on, tell you everything look good. And then you be like, hey, so you got to be careful. Even though you got experience at that, you got to be careful.
James
Yeah,
says building wealth is like raising kids. The more product productively you invest your time, the more will
yeah,
cultivate duplication. All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty
yeah.
good.
That's good there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when we talk about the whole idea of investing, I looked up me some mantras on them, and and so the mantra for boosting your no, that's the next one. Where we at? We already did the mantra for this one. So we talked about budgeting, we talked about borrowing, we talked about building wealth, and now let's talk about boosting our income streams, because you and I both know, just by living the life that we've lived, that you have to have multiple streams of income in order to be able to really
Yeah.
thrive in this life. Would you all agree with that?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yes.
so when we talk about multiple streams, Proverbs 13 and 11 says this: wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Y'all get that? He
Mhm.
said, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. you know. And so that goes a proof text for what Lewis talked about when it comes to, making sure that you're not trying to get rich quick overnight. There could be some possibilities that you could hit the jackpot deal, but in most cases, you have to be in it for the long haul. And so when we talk about the whole idea of boosting our income streams, what is your thoughts, Lewis, when it comes to multiple streams of income? How important is that? And how would you say you go about establishing that?
What I would say that's like Elder, like you guys were talking about earlier, it's about diversification. So, for example, most families may have like one stream of income from your main job, so to speak, but also ultimately having the ultimate or multiple streams of income is very, very important because you never know what that job's going to turn into. Maybe it'll get laid off or get terminated or stuff like that. And so you want to have something else and back you up so you can, in the midst of you getting a new job, you can still pay your bills, you can still live comfortably and be like nothing ever happened. So boosting multiple streams is important. So first thing you got to identify what things you think you can get in for maybe not as much money. Like, obviously right big right now is, YouTube, affiliate marketing is big, doing TikTok, shop, things like that are very big. The digital marketing piece
Mm-hmm.
is big right now. Other things you can do, there's so many things you can do remotely at home, like, reading audio books for a company and they're paying you some money, driving Uber or what have you, whatever. There's so many opportunities out to make money. And we all know that most companies, no matter if you're corporate, fast food, transportation, they're desperately looking for employees. Like we had have a roto-rooter guy come to one of our properties yesterday, and I was talking to the guy there. It's like I just asked, like, "Are you guys looking for people?" Oh yeah, we're desperately looking for people. We have somebody today of the apply. So that shows you how much opportunity is out here. So I agree that multiple streams of income are important, and you got to have to find a ways to do it. There's so many opportunities out here. You can do part time, you can do full time, you can do at home, you can do away from home. I mean, there's so many things out here you can do, but definitely multiple income streams is very, very important and very, very vital because we all know that obviously inflation right now, that the money that may get in from your main job is not going to be enough to sustain you, maybe sustain you, but not your family or all the people that you might care about or have to take care of. So that's very key, and we should also be instilling that in our kids too, to be not thinking that I'm going to school to go to college to get a job and work for somebody, because we all know that work for somebody, you're never going to get wealthy doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So boosting our income streams are vitally important. Here's another mantra for you: diversify your income, diversify your opportunities. So when you diversify your income, it diversifies your opportunities. What's your thoughts on that, Elder?
That is exactly correct. I always say education and God go hand in hand. Um, that he can open up doors for you, but I mean you got to have the education behind it. So I think that's good.
So even when it comes to um, again, financial literacy or educating yourself is really what you're saying is important that an individual identify their skills and interests and be able to look and see how that can be monetized. You
Yes.
know, and
Yeah.
it is not about going after money. You know, uh,
Mm,
is being able to use your skills through purpose, and
right.
that attracts
Yeah.
money. You understand what I mean? And if a
Yeah.
person
That's
just going
level.
after money, then you know there's no purpose in that. And when we looked at
Yeah.
that scripture earlier in Proverbs 13 and 11 that talked about wealth gained hastily, it would dwindle, you know. But when you use your skills or your interests or your purpose in life, when you go for that, it's almost like you're not working when you do something you love doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Well,
And
listen,
I was
go
and I
ahead.
was I was just gonna add that with it is like you said, level your strength and your weaknesses. So wherever your strength is, that's where you want to be at. You can have the knowledge, and Brother Lewis can have the money, and then you just that's how you build up a financial partnership.
Yeah.
So you use your strengths.
All right,
Yeah,
bro.
and
James, go ahead.
also too, I think also too is that building income streams. You need to be around people that are like-minded or still want to do the same thing you'll do,
Yes.
because you could be on the wrong people and they'll you have an idea, you think something, they'll I think Bishop Hill called it pole mouth or something like that.
Right, right, right,
Or
right.
they say, no, it's just not gonna work. Just it don't make no money. What are you talking about? You don't want to be people around like on that. You want to be people that are on the same vein, like, I want to do that too. Or I got this idea and I got I'm thinking about that. That's the people you want to be around. That'll spawn on like,
Yes.
creativity and brainstorming, and stuff will come out just like you want to imagine.
Oh yeah, that's so important. I think, you know, I don't know how to say it, but I'm gonna say it like this, and I'm gonna do like the bishop. Y'all don't write me no letters or nothing. You know, but I know that to be true, because most of my adult life I've had great ideas about things, and the people around me would tell me, "Oh, they ain't ready for that," or "Are you before your time?"
Mm-hmm.
I remember before they came up with the 4-door pickup, creating a pickup. I used to take cars and cut them up. I would cut
Mm-hmm.
them up and weld them back together and do different things with it. But I've came up with a lot of different ideas that people, they told me that, it wouldn't work or whatever. And I didn't pursue it. And then years later or whatever, I would see it on the market or whatever. And so that's so true about being around the right people, to not let people talk you out. Brother James said, yes, go after your vision and money will come eventually, just like planting and
Mm-hmm.
tending a garden. Well, listen, we're almost out of time. We talked about budgeting basics. We talked about borrowing and debt management. We talked about building wealth through investments. We talked about boosting our income. And our last subject for today is the whole idea of having a blueprint for financial independence. And so we talk about a blueprint or a roadmap that is so important that each person take time to sit down with themselves and create them some type of financial plan. Some type of, Elder hit it earlier when he talked about goals, some type of financial plan or some type of blueprint for where they're going. Things don't, this is Apostle Hilliard, things don't just happen, they must be planned. So how important
Right.
is it to have a blueprint to your financial future? Brother Lewis.
Well, having a blueprint is a key, because it's kind of your outline for the future, and it kind of guides you to the steps you need to take to get from where you're at right now to where you're visualizing where you want to be. And I choose them not just words you write on your timeline or on your list, but also action items is the key. It's all right to have it on paper and stuff like that, but you still gotta act it out. For example, maybe the first step would be maybe starting to build an emergency fund, or maybe to start to automate your savings, where I take $20 out per pay period and put in a savings or something like that, or $50 out, whatever works for you where you're at. Another thing could be reducing your living expenses. Like, maybe I don't need to buy 4 pairs of Jordans. Maybe I can buy 1 pair of Jordans and then buy some shoes from Kohl's, and the money I'll pay for the Jordans, I'll invest that. That's a come up right there for me.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
That's good. Elder, same question. How important is a blueprint or a plan of action for your financial independence? How important is that?
Yeah, I agree with Brother Lewis. It's very important, and I think that's what James is saying is about moving it from different channels. From a checking account, putting it off into a savings account. First of all, you got to see yourself financial free in your mind, and
Yes.
I think having a $1 million mind. I don't know who said it, but they said if you can see it in your heart, you can put it in. You can have it in your hand.
Okay.
And my I had a few steps to go along with that. Is number one, you have to think about it in your mind, and you and Brother Lewis mentioned the number two. You got to write it down. You got to make the vision plain. You know, the Bible says, make the vision plain, so you have to write it down. The third one, you got to speak it. Life
Yes.
and death are in the tongue. And then the other one, you have to work it. Faith
All
without
right.
works is
I,
dead.
I think Lewis, he's showing out on us right there. Lewis, hold up, hold up. Back up. Let me get my notepad out here.
You
He'll
got them
throw it out
record,
an
right?
outline
So
right there. He'll throw it
you
out an
got to
outline.
put that out there. You'll be viral overnight.
Come on, go back. Go back. What was the first one, Elder?
The first one, you have to think it in your mind.
So you got to think it. Okay, think it. Okay, what was the second one?
Write down the vision and make it plain.
Okay, you got to write it. What's the third one?
Speak it. Life and death are in the power. Life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Okay, you got to speak it. And then what was the fourth one?
You got to work it.
You got
Faith
to work
without works is dead.
Action,
You got to
action,
work it.
action, action, action.
If you, yep, if you see it in your mind, you can have it in your hand.
Okay, if you see it in your mind, you can
You can
have it
have it in your hand.
in your hand. Look at that boy. All right.
That's having $1 million mindset. That's financial freedom is available for everybody that's on this line.
All right. That sounds like the prophet that came out of him now, y'all. But listen, we're just about out of time. Listen, our mantra for the blueprint is plan your future and plan your future, secure your freedom. So when you plan your future, you secure your freedom. Here's a quote by Antonio. I'm going to have to spell it Antoine, and it's DE space Saint, SAINT, and his last name has got a hyphen. Then his last name is EXUPERY, and that's his name. But he said the quote is, "A goal without a plan is just a wish." So if you have a goal but you don't have a plan to bring the goal to pass, it's just a wish. But James said a blueprint allows you to grow correctly. It also serves as a corrector of you fall short. You agree with Elder? Okay, I might have missaid that last one up there. Listen, thank you, brothers, for coming on. We covered quite a bit tonight. It was a joy having each one of you all on. We're gonna have to get you back on when Brother James is with us, so we could chop it up some more. But that was some valuable wisdom that you all shared with our audience, and I believe that if you really get to a place where he said, if you fall short, is what Brother James was saying. I really believe that if you will begin with, we've been talking about this on Financial Friday. If you begin with your, the whole idea of creating your budget, and you can go back and look at some of our previous one and get that free link. If you begin to manage your borrowing and not just start buying stuff because you can, and then if you get to a place where you start really intentionally building wealth, and then boosting your income streams, and then finally taking those things and creating your blueprint for financial freedom or independence. Minister Rodney says, awesome, learned a lot this evening. Thank you, gentlemen. Knowledge is power. Yes. Well, listen, we're out of time. Listen, brother, I'll give y'all 3 seconds apiece with some closing words. Elder Perry.
Well, I just simply saying that if I like that part. If you see it in your hand and you see it in your mind, you can have it in your hand. So just remember that you use your strength, and then your weakness. You partner with somebody else, and you can have the knowledge, or you can have the money, and you can go places. So I just leave it like that. There, just
awesome. Lewis, what's your closing words?
Financial freedom and independence is for everyone. It's all about your
Yeah.
mindset. You're going from being a consumer mentality to a producer mentality.
All right.
Yes.
That sounds good. Listen, we out of here. Financial Friday. Peace. We'll see you next week. Be blessed.
Be blessed.